I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. Okay, we are back, and as you may notice, I am wearing a new shirt. And I love this shirt, and whoever designed this shirt deserves credit. I just can't remember who designed this shirt. Love it, because it's totally me. Unable to pick a movie forever club, because sometimes I'm sitting there forever and just cannot decide what to watch. I literally have almost 1,000 movies on either Blu-ray, DVD, yes, VHS, and some digital. So, anyway, before we get too into this review, I would like to do a few disclaimers. These videos are completely unedited and unfiltered. So whatever comes out of my mouth is whatever comes out of my mouth. And adult things will come out of my mouth. So if you have kids in the room, you probably want to ask them to leave or put your headphones on. And just know I may fumble over concepts, words, things, because I'm not going to edit this. I'm not going to try to make myself sound better or look better by editing. Because I'm such a perfectionist that if I tried to edit these, I probably would never post them. And just so you know, spoilers will happen, especially for the movie that I'm reviewing. But have no fear. I'll put a list of every single movie I mention in this video underneath the video, so that you have a list of all the movies that I either quote, like I just quoted The Departed, or mention, simply just mention, like Legend, and I'm not going to talk about that movie. It has no reference in this movie, but I just said it, so I mentioned it. I'll put it down. And there will be a header that says spoilers. So you can avoid spoilers for any movie you want to avoid for. Just look at the header, spoilers, which tonight, spoilers will happen for none other than Goodfellas. Holy shit. This movie is, by now, has to be considered a classic, like, brilliant fucking movie. Brilliant fucking movie. And, just before I get into the information, get into the book, get into that, I wanted to mention something that struck me as interesting and wonderful. Okay, do you know who the Rousseau brothers are? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you know who they are, maybe you don't. The Rousseau brothers directed a bunch of stuff, including a few of the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe films, like the Endgame, the Avengers Endgame, and things like that. They were interviewed by the DGA. I have a client and a friend. A client who's also a friend, and a friend. So two different people I know who are in the Directors Guild. And so my client, who's in the Directors Guild, gets mail sent to where I get. And anyway, at one point she got the Directors Guild. And when I saw, Cameron on here, who I love and has done some fantastic work, and then I saw Favreau on here and realized Favreau, I was, the only film I ever did was the first Iron Man film, which is not the last film I'm going to do, but was the first film, and so far the only. He directed it, and so I met him on set. But, so, this magazine, called to me, and I'm like, I gotta have this, so I asked if I could keep it. She said yes. And I was reading through it and didn't realize that they also had an interview with the Rousseau brothers, and was like, oh, that's interesting. I know some stuff that they did. And at this point, I don't think Endgame had come out. I was sorely disappointed with Endgame, and it kind of stopped my momentum with the MCU. But that's a whole other story, and has nothing to do with them or their ability. It has to do with how the Hulk was treated, which the Hulk is like one of my absolute favorites. And anyway, we're not going to get into that. What I want to say is, in this interview with the Rousseau brothers, Joe Russo said, and I quote, Watch Goodfellas 100 times and you'll learn more than you ever could in film school. And I was shocked. I was shocked because they talk about watching film like crazy and learning how to do what they do simply by watching some of the greats. And the fact that Joe Russo singles out a couple of films, but Goodfellas as one of the films that, he also singled out The French Connection, but anyway, and some other things. But Goodfellas, he singles out as you'll learn more from watching that movie 100 times than you will in film school. And I've seen Goodfellas way more than 100 times, I'm sure. It is not the movie that I've seen the most, but I have seen it tons of times. So, without further ado, let's get into the book. Challenge number 14, based on a true story, which Goodfellas is. Year release 1990, aspect ratio 1.85:1, running time 2 hours and 25 minutes, genre a bunch. I was like, how many genres do you need in one film? And I was surprised by some of the genres that IMDb has. Gangster, okay, true crime, biography, crime, and drama. Those are all the genres that IMDb lists. Rated R. Challenge completed. I just finished watching it a couple of minutes, actually, like maybe an hour ago, because I ate dinner. I was watching The Departed while I was eating dinner, and just like, oh, I've got to use a quote from The Departed, because The Departed is fucking amazing. And as much as I love Goodfellas, I think I like The Departed more. Anyway, we're not going to get off on that. One of these days, I'm gonna review The Departed. It's brilliant. My rating of Goodfellas is 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. It is brilliant. It is brilliant. Starring too many people to put on this little line, and I'm sure I'm gonna miss some people, but I'm just gonna say some of the top people. Robert De Niro is amazing in this movie. Of course, Joe Pesci won the Academy Award for this. Ray Liotta is brilliant. I love Lorraine Bracco in this movie. Paul Sorvino is fantastic. Who else do I want to? Frank Vincent's in this. Mike Starr's in this. Chuck Lowe. Chuck Lowe is great in this movie, and I'll mention. I have notes to the effect. Debbie Mazar, and then Samuel L. Jackson. Like, whoa, Samuel L. Jackson's in this? Yeah, of course he is. He said, put him in anything. Put him in anything. He can do it. Anyway, let's move on. Directed by Martin Scorsese. Brilliant, brilliant. Produced by Irwin Winkler. He's the only one that actually says produced by. Everybody else is like co or executive or something like that. Written by Nicholas Pileggi. I'm gonna think it's Pileggi and not Pileggi. It's Pileggi, right? I hope I'm saying that correctly. He did the book, and he helped Martin Scorsese with the screenplay. So he was involved with the screenplay as well. Music. Now, this does not like... I did a review of Reservoir Dogs. And I was shocked to watch Reservoir Dogs and realize it didn't have a soundtrack. It had music because Quentin Tarantino picked out certain songs that went with the film. But it did not have a soundtrack. This, and I did that review and I was shocked. I was like, whoa, I'm not used to not having a soundtrack. But the funny thing is, I had seen Goodfellas so many times and never realized this also doesn't have a soundtrack. This has no soundtrack. It just has a bunch of brilliant music that, and I have a note later on to the effect, an insider thing. Scorsese picked a bunch of great music for this movie, and it carries the movie, and you don't need a soundtrack. And I was like, whoa, okay, it doesn't have a soundtrack. So there are a number of movies that don't have soundtracks. Inglourious Basterds not being one of them. If you watch my review of Inglourious Basterds, I was shocked that music wasn't named. And yet there was a clear soundtrack. Anyway, watch my review of Inglourious Basterds, and I talk about that. Awards received. Academy Award, Joe Pesci for Best Supporting. Holy shit, is he amazing. He's so amazing. I mean, you think about this scene, you can't help but remember, like, just his character and his tenacity. And then they get him to do it in another film, Casino, almost the same type of character. Love Casino too. Love, and maybe I should review Casino because, Sharon Stone is fucking stellar in that movie. Anyway, Joe Pesci, definitely stands out. But then I was like, okay, well, who else? And I noticed it didn't win Best Picture. Okay, well, what else is up for Best Picture? And we all know that I have a list of all the Academy Awards. So I pulled out my list and was like, okay, what else was that year? And have I seen everything? And can I honestly say Joe Pesci deserved it? I don't think this is Joe Pesci's best performance, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. He blows me away. Absolutely. No matter how many times I've seen it, he continues to blow me away in With Honors. Most people don't know that movie. Most people have no idea who was in it. Brendan Fraser, With Honors. It is brilliant. Joe Pesci blows my mind. He gives, in my opinion, the performance of a lifetime, and he is brilliant. Brilliant in that movie. If you have not seen it, please rent it, buy it, get it. You will not be disappointed. With Honors is brilliant, and he is absolutely amazing in that film. I think that is his best work. Not to take away from the fact that he was absolutely brilliant in this movie. So, getting back to the Academy Award list. When I pulled it up, I realized, damn it! Here he is. Here, Goodfellas is, which it was nominated for Best Picture, up against Dances with Wolves. Shit. Oh, it's one of those movies, like, how do you go up against that and win? You can't. Okay, those movies are both fucking brilliant. I don't want to take away from either one and say either one is better, but in my opinion, I would have voted for Dances with Wolves. Definitely. Now, did I see everything that year? I am shocked and amazed to be able to say that, yes, I saw everything that was up for Best Picture that year. Dances with Wolves, Awakenings, Ghost, Godfather Part 3, and Goodfellas. And I can honestly say I would vote for Dances with Wolves. Yes, I would vote for Dances with Wolves. And I will review Dances with Wolves. It does qualify for something in the book, so eventually I will. And I cannot stop. I cannot go back to watching the theatrical version. I've got to watch the director's version because it is so brilliant. So brilliant. Anyway, one of the things I wanted to look up, I was shocked that it didn't. The only award that Goodfellas won was for Best Supporting for Pesci. And as much as I think he's deserved it, I was like, okay, did I see everything that year that was up for Best Supporting? And I was shocked that it didn't win Best Picture, and now I get, okay, why it didn't win Best Picture. So, supporting actor in a supporting role. Pesci did win that year, but he was up against Bruce Davison for Longtime Companion. Never heard of it, never heard of him. Sorry. Andy Garcia in The Godfather Part 3, which, yes, I would go Joe Pesci any day over that. Graham Greene with Dances with Wolves. You know, Graham Greene was amazing. Fucking love him in Dances with Wolves. But he was amazing in Dances with Wolves. But Joe Pesci was outstanding. And that's what they say when they, outstanding achievement in actor in a supporting role. Okay. The last one is Al Pacino in Dick Tracy. Love Al Pacino, but Dick Tracy, no, not over Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. So the only one I didn't see was Bruce Davison in Longtime Companion. I could rent that on Amazon and then be able to say, yes, Joe Pesci absolutely deserved it. Let's not spend too much time on this. Moving on. Why did you choose this particular film? Love this movie. It is brilliant. Brilliant. I've seen it so many times. Oh, have you seen this movie before? Of course, yes, and I own it. I've seen it. I mean, I can literally say the words with them as I'm watching the movie because I know the entire movie. Would you recommend this film? Absolutely, I would recommend this to anybody, and apparently so with the Russo brothers. If you want to get into filmmaking, watch something like this. Watch some of the classics. Watch Goodfellas. Watch Taxi Driver. Watch, there are some great films that if you watch, you can learn a lot about how to make film. And this is absolutely one of them. Which character... okay, I hate this question. Which character were you most able to identify with or connect with in which way and why? Blah, blah, blah. I hate that question, so I turned it into which character would you like to play? Even though I would never, ever try to remake this film. This film is so brilliant. It's not one that you can ever remake, and please don't ever try. But if I were to play anybody, if I would love to play a character in this film, it would be Jimmy Conway, De Niro's character. Because he is so silently feared. He doesn't... one of the lines in the movie... it's one of my notes, and I might as well say it now. One of the lines in the beginning of the movie is, Paulie might have moved slow, but it was only because Paulie didn't have to move for anybody. So I love that line because it denotes a power to a character who doesn't have to do shit. And you're already scared of him. And De Niro had done such great work up to this point, 1990. He had done some very great, dramatic, amazing work that when you get him in Goodfellas, everybody's already fucking scared of him. And he didn't have to do shit. So he embodied that line. Even though Paulie is not his character, he embodied that line. And I made a note that I would love to play a bad guy with that as their essence. I don't have to move quick. Why? Because I don't need to. And Jimmy, in my opinion, embodies that emotion, that line. Would love to play that. Best line or memorable quote? Funny how? Funny like I'm a clown? Like I'm here to amuse you? I mean, of course, that part is... It definitely stands out in the brain. It's amazing. And then one of the lines I absolutely love and can never, not remember when I think about this is as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Like, oh, fucking great line. Great to open the movie that way. I mean, it's not the first line of the movie, but it's one of the first lines. And it's just great to have that in the beginning. There's another one. Oh, there's so many great lines in this movie. I mean, how can you pick one memorable line? Were you surprised by the ending? What would you do differently? No, I was not surprised by the ending, but it was so well done. I have notes to the effect when he breaks the fourth wall, but I love that, and I have notes to it, so I won't say it now. After watching this film, did you want to learn more about the true story? Why or why not? I remember years ago, and it wasn't the first time I watched this. I must have seen this a bunch of times. And then at one point I was like, I really want to know the story behind it. And so I researched it many, many, many years ago. I researched these characters and where they were at the time and what they did and blah, blah, blah. And it was not like Whitey Bulger, where Whitey Bulger, for some reason, if you don't know who Whitey Bulger is, The Departed is loosely based on that character. Black Mass with Johnny Depp is that character. So Whitey Bulger was an Irish mobster in Boston, the Bronx, I think. No, Boston. Anyway, he was a mobster, and for some reason that story stuck with me, and I watched interviews and tapes with him and things like that, and I don't know why that hooked me and this story didn't. I was like, okay, I get it, moving on. And a lot of the stuff that I researched at the time, I just kind of let go. I was like, okay, got it, move on. It didn't compel me as much as that story did. And who knows why. Anything else you'd like to say? I have a bunch of notes, so let's get to them. It's already 20 minutes. The last little thing here at the bottom says 250 homeless people were hired for 2 days to play themselves in The Pursuit of Happyness, 2006. Oh. I didn't know that. I did know that Robin Williams had in his... Not The Pursuit of Happyness. Robin Williams did have in his contract that so many homeless people were supposed to be hired to help on set. I can't remember exact. I'm almost positive that was it. That so many technically unemployed or homeless. I can't remember if it was unemployed people or homeless people needed to be employed for on set to work if ever you said yes to a job. Anyway, I don't know how strict he adhered to that, especially when he was just doing voiceover or things like that. But that was one of the things that I knew about him because he cared about people. Anyway, that's interesting about The Pursuit of Happyness. It's been a long time since I've seen that. Unfortunately, not to get too serious here, but the Will Smith issue at the Oscars really hurt me. I grew up in a very violent home, and I have called the cops. I had to call the cops on my father more than once, and for them to do absolutely nothing was shocking. Him abusing my mother physically, and for them to do absolutely nothing, and to see Will Smith have zero ramifications and still get up and receive an award later on that night hurt me deeply. Hurt me very deeply. And since then, no matter how brilliant I think his acting is, I have not been able to get over the emotion of being able to watch his movies anymore. And I own half a dozen or more of them. I do own a bunch of his movies. And I think they're brilliant. And it's unfortunate that I can't get past that and watch his movies anymore. It's very unfortunate. Anyway, we're not here about that. We're here about Goodfellas. In the opening scene, Joe Pesci talks about this scene. When he goes in in an interview, he talked about this scene where he goes in. The opening scene is they're driving down the highway and it's in the middle of the frickin' movie. They cut to it later, but the opening scene is the beginning of the middle of the movie where Billy Batts is in the trunk and he starts making ruckus and they're like, holy shit. So they stop to kill him because they thought they killed him. Anyway, Joe Pesci goes at him with a knife and stabs him a bunch of times, and then De Niro shoots him. Well, Joe Pesci has this story where he's talking about how they shot that, and then they cut, and then they shot it again. I think he says he did it 2 or 3 times. And then when Scorsese cut again, De Niro leaned over him and said, I think you're doing that too fast. I don't think that you can get the knife in and out that quickly with all the stuff you have to go through in a human body. The fact that that Robert De Niro picks this up after two shots, probably 2 takes, and is like, Joe, I don't think you could do that easy. I just found that hilarious that Robert De Niro gave Joe Pesci that note. And it looks great in the film. Anyway, it's a great way to get you hooked, to show you that piece instead of starting at the beginning, to get you hooked. And then that line that I absolutely love that I've already said as far back as I can remember. I always wanted to be a gangster. That gets you absolutely hooked. I remember when I was a kid, this boy that plays young Henry, so I used to have a huge crush on him. And I would always go back to watching this movie just because I wanted to watch the beginning with him. He's so hot. And it got me to watch the movie more and more. It wasn't that I just wanted to watch the movie for him, but he got me to watch the movie, and then the rest of the movie was always just fucking amazing. It wasn't like Young Frankenstein, where at a certain point as a kid and a teenager, at a certain point, I always turned the movie off, and I don't know why. And it wasn't until I was an adult that watched the whole movie and went, whoa, there's more to this movie than... I always used to turn it off when he comes back, when they play the violin and he comes back. And I was like, why would I turn it off then? I don't understand. But for some reason, as a kid and as a young teenager, I was never able to get past that point. I always kind of turned it off. It wasn't until I was an adult and rewatched it and went, there's a whole other part to this movie. That's great. Anyway, let's move on. The narration in this movie is very well done by both Ray Liotta and Lorraine Bracco. I think in this movie they're the only two to narrate. I think. In Casino, because it's very easy for me, because I've seen both of them so many times, and the cast is so similar. Anyway, it's very easy for me to conflate the two sometimes. This, and absolutely easy for me to compare the two. The characters are very different. The story is very different. The setup is different. Martin Scorsese is still doing a fantastic job. They're both brilliant films. But I really paid attention to the narration tonight because I've seen Casino so many times lately. So many times. And you realize that the narration, no matter how wonderful... Joe Pesci is great. He really is. Robert De Niro is wonderful. He really is. They're great actors. But the narration is fucked up. If you just try to put headphones on and listen to the narration, you can hear that they recorded it on different days. Absolutely had to have recorded on different days, because sometimes Joe Pesci sounds far away, sometimes he sounds close up, sometimes he sounds over here, sometimes he sounds over, and it's fucked up. It's like it never, and even in the middle of a sentence, he'll be saying one thing that's an entire sentence, but you can tell they've cut two different narrations together because they sound different. So it really got fucked up, unfortunately, and that's a huge error, a huge mistake in Casino that they didn't make here. If you listen to the narration, it almost always sounds exactly the same. I think one time I felt like maybe they added that, maybe it was different, maybe they added it a little differently because it sounded a little off, but for the most part, the narration always sounded like it was the same day, in the same room, in the same spec. I didn't hear a shift in the voiceover. Ray Liotta was wonderful. It must have gotten done all in one day. And the same with Lorraine Bracco. Although Lorraine Bracco only did she only talks a couple of times, not a lot of times. So it's kind of hard to like hear her. She only does it here and then in here, like an hour away from each other in the film. And so you can't really compare the two Lorraine Braccos. But Ray Liotta narrates almost the entire thing. And so you absolutely can tell that it all sounds like he did it at the same time, or it sounds the same. Anyway, let's not get off on too much of a tangent. It was really well done here. I really enjoyed the narration here. I already gave that note. We're like the police department for wise guys. I love that line. I love that he's simplifying the life for people who may not know what it's all about. And I'm sure there's more to it, but I think the main focus is that's what they do. That's what they do. One day, a kid from the neighborhood carried my mom's groceries, all the way home. You know why? It was out of respect. I love that line. I love that they freeze-framed everything at that point for that line to make it important. It's great. I love when, oh my God, when we first meet Jimmy Conway, when I forget how old he says he is. I forget how old he says he is, but they're in the gambling, blah, 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 and he comes up and he lights up the room. He even says he lights up the room. You know, I've never, ever, not once in my life been attracted to Robert De Niro. He's not my type and never was, never will be. But in this scene, he is like insanely attractive. Like, it's part of his persona. It's part of the way he looks, part of the way he acts. I'm just like, damn, he's a very attractive person. Like, holy shit. You know how sometimes you can tell that even though you're not personally physically attracted to them, they're not your type, but you can still tell they're a very attractive person. And he was in that scene, like insanely in that scene, like wow. Oh, I love it when Henry gets pinched for the first time. I love he's like, no, it's okay. And they're like, what, you get permission from your mother? No, it's fine. It's okay. I don't know why that cracks me up. And then young Tommy's like, oh shit, and trying to get away, and he gets away. But he's like, it's fine. How many cartons do you need? I love he's trying to sell the cops cigarettes. It's fine. No, it's okay. Oh, here's another line that I absolutely love. Another memorable, absolutely memorable quote. Man, no, I'm proud of you. You took your first pinch like a man, and you learned the two greatest things in life. Never rat on your friends, and always keep your mouth shut. Fucking love that. You know, Robert De Niro is... I said before that there's certain people, they're just... Who said it? I was just listening to an interview earlier, yesterday, and somebody said, oh, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg said that about Jack Nicholson. He's the GOAT. Oh, he's the GOAT. You know, Robert De Niro is also one of them. Absolutely outstanding. Absolutely amazing. You know, Denzel Washington, Robert De Niro, Jack Nicholson. There are a handful of Robin Williams. There are a handful of people that are just out fucking standing in the acting world. In my opinion, Gary Oldman. You know, and damn, just to watch Robert De Niro give some of these lines and have some of these personas, just amazing. Just amazing. This is not the beginning of his career, not by a long shot. And so he's already established and already he's got a lot of career behind him when he made this film, and he's just oozing comfort. In my opinion, also, fucking Kurt Russell, to see somebody who's so comfortable in front of the camera. I mean, he was a Disney kid. He started when he was a kid, earlier than Robert, younger than, not earlier, younger than Robert De Niro. You know, he started when he was a little kid. If you want to see somebody who's comfortable in front of the camera, who never seems like he's acting, who's so comfortable in what he's doing, Kurt Russell is one of them. I think he's insanely underrated. Anyway. The introduction scene. Oh, I love the introduction scene where Ray Liotta, the narration, is introducing people, and the camera is going through the restaurant. And he's introducing the people part of the crowd, and they're breaking the fourth wall because it's Henry. The camera is Henry. Such a great idea. There's so much to learn in this film. That's why the Russo brothers said, that's why Joe said, watch it 100 times. You'll learn more about filmmaking than in film school. That brilliant idea to have the camera be Henry. He's already narrating, so that's cool. But we have the camera be Henry going through the restaurant, and he's talking to people. He's introducing them, and then they respond to the camera, breaking the fourth wall. Brilliant. Love it. And then when they do that weird, okay, now Henry's being part of the film. When he's selling him the the coats, when he brings in the coats. In the same scene, at the end of that scene, he's bringing in the fur coats. The way the camera, like, okay, now we're watching Henry. Instead of being Henry, we are now, the movement was, we are now watching Henry. Fucking great. Fucking great. There's a lot of great camera work in this film. And that was one of them. Really well done. Joe Pesci is brilliant. I've said this before, and I have this note here. What do you mean I'm funny? Funny how? That scene is just one of the most famous scenes. I mean, one of the most, even people who haven't seen this entire movie know that scene or have seen that scene. I can't say it's as famous as some scenes, like, no, I am your father, from Empire, or, I'll be back, or, it's not a one-liner scene. It's not a one-liner scene, but it is an insanely memorable scene. And it's just so iconic, like insanely iconic. I can think of one-liners from the Godfather films, even though I was not the hugest fan of the Godfather films. I love films like this more. But anyway, I can remember one-liners from those films, but not scenes. Well, in Godfather 3, when Pacino does the silent cry when he finds out his daughter died. Yes, absolutely, that's a memorable scene. When he falls back on the stairs. Yes, that is absolutely an insanely memorable scene. But this scene is an iconic, like, memorable scene with Joe Pesci. What am I funny? Whoa, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say? That's just the way you told the story. What? Well, I don't know. What, you said it. You said it. What the fuck makes me funny? Tell me. Like, it's just... And it doesn't end there, because that's brilliant. But then he goes on to be like, when what's his name asks him for the check, I can't remember his name right now, and he says, will you pay the check? Yeah, put it on my tab. He's like, well, no, this is, it's seven fucking $1,000. This is a big one. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends, And then he fucking, smacks him, and then he goes back and tells Henry, you should be doing this too. Oh my God, it's such an iconic, brilliant scene. It's just amazing, wonderful scene. And Pesci is just like, of course he fucking won. Of course he deserved it. Brilliant. Comes up to the... Oh, when Karen... I love that scene when Karen comes up to Henry after he stands her up. Lorraine Bracco's amazing in this movie. There are very few movies that I remember Lorraine Bracco in, but this is one of them, and I think she's brilliant. I think she's great. I liked her a lot in Medicine Man, but for me, the true standout in Medicine Man was Sean Connery, and Lorraine Bracco's great in it, but in my opinion, it could have been anybody. And this, I feel like, it had to be. Lorraine Bracco was amazing, and I can't think of anybody else doing it. Karen, she's just great, and I love the way she comes up. She's just pissed, and the way he reacts to it. And he says, she looked good. She looked like Liz Taylor. Really cool scene. I love that scene. I love the camera work and the following Karen, and like right after that, the camera work following Henry and Karen into the Copacabana. It's so great where they're walking through and the song that's playing. It's such a great sequence. There's a lot of really good sequences where the camera work and the song and the situation are beautifully matched, and that's one of them. Maury's wigs don't come off. Oh my God. So there are very few people in my life that I have looked at and been like, and looked at their hair and been like, fuck, I want your hair. Your hair looks amazing on you, and I would love to look that good with your hair. I wasn't always bald, of course, but as a kid even, I would see this scene when Robert De Niro comes up behind Morris and chokes him, and just been like, Robert De Niro's hair is gorgeous. It looks perfect and perfectly for him. It's just like, wow, I love your hair. It's salt and pepper. It's short. It's gorgeous. It's brilliant. It falls wonderfully. It has just a little bit of a wave. And it's just like, God, wow, I love your hair. You know, him, Jeff Bridges in Arlington Road. God, I love his hair in that movie. Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 2. Oh, I wish I had that hair. You know, there are certain people, I just see their hair in a certain film. I'm like, oh my, your hair looks just amazing. I would love to have that fucking hair. I would love to have any hair if it didn't look bad. Anyway. Robert De Niro's character, I mean, he does such a great job in that scene when he gets Morris to, trying to get the money, and he's paying attention to two different things. Even though he's threatening and choking Morris, Henry gets that phone call from Karen, and he's still concerned about that, but he's still, in this. It's a great scene for him. And then, oh my God. Okay, so this still gives me chills. Like, still, I've seen it hundreds of times, probably hundreds of times, easily over 100, I know. But I'm probably thinking that I've seen this movie in the multiple hundreds of times. It still gives me chills, even tonight, when Henry fucking pistol whips the guy next door. It's still like, it's just so shocking and so real. And the reactions from the other guys, the shock of the abruptness of it, like, whoa, wasn't expecting that. And he just beats and it's not like he hits him once or twice. He just keeps beating him, and it's just shocking. It's so great and so shocking. It's such a great scene. Everybody does a great job in it, but what I'm saying is, it still shocked me to today. That watching it, just like, holy shit, it still gives me chills. So well done. And I hate to say it, but when people abuse women, it hurts me, because I saw it so much growing up as a kid, that anytime that this happens, when you get vengeance, justice for a woman being hurt, I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And I feel like if ever I were in that situation, I'd probably do the same fucking thing. And I'm glad, being as big and as powerful as I am glad I've never been in the situation where I've, not since I was a kid, I've had to deal with that personally. Not since I was a kid. I love the wedding. When they're talking about all the Peters and Pauls, and they're all married to Marie, and they name their kids Marie. That scene is just, for some weird reason, it's so hilariously Italian. I'm not Italian, but I know Italians, and I'm like, this is just hilarious. And then, Tommy's mom is hilarious. Isn't she related to Scorsese? Isn't Yeah, she's his mom. That's what I thought. So Catherine Scorsese, who plays Tommy's mom in the film, is actually Martin Scorsese's actual mom. And I thought that was right, but I wanted to fact check myself before I said it, Yes, it's right. And she's great. I love that she's so Italian. She's great. I love her. Yeah. Why don't you be like your friend Tommy? He's settled down. He's got a nice girl. Her little lines are just hilarious. She's a standout in this film, in my opinion. She is. Oh God. One of the earliest Karen narrations, Lorraine Bracco, is when the police are searching her house, and she's like, they just mostly looking for money, or they're mostly just looking for a handout. No matter what they find, people like, what does she say? People like Jimmy Conway's wife, or Mickey Conway, I can't remember, but she's like, she used to spit on her own floor. That never made any sense to me. The way Lorraine Bracco says it rings in my head, and it's just hilarious. Love it. The line delivery is perfect. The line itself is funny as hell, but the way she delivers it, that never made any sense to me. It's just another one of those lines that always rings in my head when I watch this movie. I love the intermingled photographs with film. When she's talking about how they're all a family and they do things together, and anytime there was a baby born, Henry and Jimmy were Tommy and Jimmy, or Henry and Jimmy were the first at the hospital. They show pictures of their life together in between the film. So they cut the film and then they start showing pictures of their life, and then they go back to the film, like live motion. It's so well done. I love it. There's so much to see in this film. There's so much to learn in this film. And I love that he intermingled photographs of their life with the film. Oh my God. This Billy Bat scene is... I remember being shocked as a kid. I remember multiple times being shocked as a kid. And you know how I say a lot of times in my reviews, I don't remember that. It's been so long since I've seen it. And I've seen it so many times since then that I can't really remember how I felt when blah, blah, blah. That is not the case with Clash of the Titans. I absolutely remember. You watch my review of Clash of the Titans, and I talk about how that was the movie that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. And if you want to know why, watch that review. But there are a handful of movies that I remember how I felt when the first couple of times I watched the film. This is one of them, absolutely. There are multiple times in this film where I remember how I felt the first time or first couple of times I watched it. And this scene with Billy Bats always, when I was a kid, used to shock me. Like, I remember being shocked by this scene, not expecting multiple parts of it. And what I mean by that is, when he fucks with Tommy, go home and get your shine box. And Tommy just like, motherfucking mutt, you mutt. I wasn't expecting that. And, Joe Pesci is so fucking amazing. I was like, whoa. And he does such a great job. Keep him here. He does such a great job. Well, and then De Niro's, we're sitting over here, hugging and kissing. And one minute, and the next minute he's freaking out. Yeah, no, you insulted him a little bit. You got a little out of order on your own. You assaulted them a little bit. You did. Let's have a drink. De Niro's fantastic in that scene. Love him. But then when Pesci comes back, I was not expecting them to beat the shit out of Bats. Like, I shocked. And the way not only Tommy goes after him, but the way Jimmy goes after him, and then just kicking him in the face. I was just like, I remember being shocked, but like, whoa. seeing them go after this guy, and the way they shot it and the angles they shot it is just, whoa. And then not only that, but then to take me out of the shock, that brilliant line of, I didn't want to get blood on your floors. That line always made me laugh. It brought me out of the shock of the situation. And I don't know if Scorsese meant that. I don't know if they meant that, but it absolutely did that for me. It got me out of the shock of the situation because I thought that line was so fun. I didn't want to get blood on your floors. What? And Henry's look at that moment when Tommy says that, he's just like, what? He just fucking killed a guy, and that's the line. That's what you say? Great line. And here we go. You know, I have another note about Tommy's mom, Catherine Scorsese. She's fantastic in that scene when they come to her house. And, no, I want to see him. You know, she's great. And the painting she paints and that joke she tells. Shut up, you're always talking. That joke she tells is brilliant. I love her. You could tell she's not an actress, but she does such a great job at being a mom. And that's who she is, and she's fantastic at it. I love it. I love that she's in this movie. Great job. Oh, you know, maybe, I don't know if it was supposed to be intense, but when they go to Polly's place, and Polly asks Henry about bats, about this whole bat situation, because now Billy Bats is missing, and they don't know what happened to him. And he says, they're asking me, and they're putting pressure on me. I guess because as an audience member, I'm stuck with this idea of Paul from the line in the beginning of the movie where Paulie didn't have to move for anybody. I'm stuck with that feeling and that image. And then for Paulie to actually take him aside and talk to him, and sternly the way he does, I always found that scene insanely intense. Like, whoa. And the fact that Henry, the fact that Henry is lying, as an audience member, I was like, this is going to come back to bite you in the ass. And I always felt very uncomfortable. Like, holy shit. Like, this is a very intense scene, and I feel like Henry's fucking up. Like, why are you lying to Paulie? Why? Why are you lying? There's another scene that I felt the same way, but we'll get to that. Spider. Oh my God. Okay, so here's another guy that I should probably look up, because didn't he become somebody famous? Didn't he do a huge show? Wasn't he in The Sopranos? He was like a huge hit in The Sopranos. This guy, Spider. I never watched The Sopranos. Sorry. I love Gandolfini. He's fantastic in the remake of The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. He is outstanding in Killing Them Softly. I think that Gandolfini is wonderful. I liked him a lot in Fallen. I do know him. I do know his stuff. I did not watch Sopranos. It just never called to me. Spider. Michael Imperioli. I hope I pronounced that right. Imperioli. He's great. He has such a small character, or he has a. I'm trying to train myself not to say small part, because, like they say, there are no small parts. But he has such little screen time. I'm trying to reprogram myself to say he has such little screen time, but he's great. Like, he does such a great job in the two scenes that he's in, that he stands out. And no wonder they cast him, in other things, including The Sopranos. And I heard that he did a great, he was like a somebody in The Sopranos. Anyway, whoa! I don't think I was shocked, but I was, when he shoots him in the foot, I was like, holy shit, wait, Tommy seems a little unhinged at that point. I feel like he's a little like, okay, there's a little before this point he had seemed like his energy was contained. His energy was pointed in a direct. Now he seems a little like loose cannon. He seems a little like a loose cannon here. He's like, it was an accident. Don't make such a big deal out of it, Spider. You know. And then when he comes back, he says, "Go fuck yourself, Tommy." I was like Robert De Niro, like, oh, wow, he fucking said that, and then for yes, I was shocked when Tommy shot Spider, and you're like, what? Whoa! I guess you had to expect something out of that. I mean, you couldn't come out of that scene with nothing. You had to expect something, but I don't know if I was expecting that. And he shoots him like 6 times. Like, holy wow. Wow. You can see it on, Pesci's. If you are going to nominate someone for an Academy Award, if you are going to vote for somebody to win the Academy Award, it has to be for more than just the times when they have lines. It has to be for times when they don't have lines too. They have to commit 1,000% to their character. And this part where Spider says, "Go fuck yourself," and Jimmy's like, "Whoa!" And he's like, "Good for you." And then he's like, "What's the world coming to?" You can see it all over Joe Pesci's performance. You can see it all over Tommy. The shock, the frustration, the what do I do? And then he fucking shoots him, and it's like, well, shit. What, first hole I dug? Where do we keep the shovels? It's got... Every second of his performance is brilliant. He's so deserving of the award. So deserving of the award. Henry going after Jan... Oh! Karen going after Janet Rossi. Is this the superintendent? Yes, I just wanted to let you know you have a whore living in 2R. There's something about Lorraine Bracco's accent. There's something about, sometimes she can just come up with brilliant line delivery. And it's not just about her accent. It's about how she says certain things. And I feel like this line and so many others in this movie, she's so great in this movie. But the same thing in Medicine Man, even though I think it could have been anybody, there are certain lines she has in that movie that she delivers so well. And she's I'm sorry that I don't know enough of what she's done to really appreciate more that she's done, because I feel like her line delivery is wonderful a lot of times. It may not be what she's doing. It may not be how she looks, but I feel like her line delivery a lot of times is wonderful. Wonderful. Maybe she should do, voiceover. She's great. Another intense scene is when Karen almost shoots Henry. Like you wake up with the gun in your face, the gun in the camera. Great shots. Great intensity. And I love the turnaround when Henry turns it around and almost... Scorsese captured how the... How do you put this? How do I put this? Scorsese captured how the... danger, intensity... I can't come up with the right word, but there is a level of like imminent reality I can't come up with the right word. But when Karen has the gun on Henry, the level of this is actually going to happen is at a certain point. Like, this is actually going to happen. She's going to actually shoot him. I fear for the fact she actually shoot him. It's like here. Okay? This being the bottom. Here. Okay? When the tables turn and he puts the gun on her, the imminency, the reality of this is actually going to happen, he's actually going to shoot her, goes to here. And you're like, he's gonna. Because I believe he will shoot her more than she will shoot him. Even though she has more reason at that point to shoot him, I feel like the characters are so well done and so well captured that I don't believe she's actually going to shoot him. I half believe, and I whole believe that he will shoot her. And that scene is so good because you feel those both in the same scene, because it gets turned on you so quick, and then you're like, oh, is he going to shoot her? Is he really going to? It's just so great. It's so well done. There's so many parts of this movie are so well done. Wow. Oh, and it always, the subtle manipulation always makes me laugh, especially when I catch it. When Polly and Jimmy go to Henry. Henry's at his girlfriend's house, and I just said her name, Janet Rossi. He's at his girlfriend's house. Karen is like, I want him back kind of thing, and Jimmy and Polly go to him and say, you got to go back. But what I love about it is the subtle manipulation where they're like, nobody's telling you can't do what you want to do, but you got to go back. The subtle manipulation is fantastic. Let's go through some of these quick, because some of these are small. I laugh. It's like, they must really throw them to the lions there, or they must really feed each other to the lions there, because the guy gave the information right up. I'm like, what? Do people actually do that? I thought that was an interesting line. And then when they get busted, holy shit, I wasn't expecting them to get busted, because he has that huge line. Henry has that line earlier in the film about, nobody goes to jail unless they want to, unless they make themselves go to jail. They're not organized. I got things organized, and the fact that they go to jail is a little bit of a shock. It is. Now take me to jail. I love the way he knows he's going to jail. He says goodbye to his friends. He has a drink. What is that dark green drink that they're drinking? I really want to know. It's not Midori, because Midori is like a bright green. This is like a dark green alcoholic drink, and he's pouring it dark green out of the bottle into their glass. So I don't know what that is. If you know what that is, let me know. I would love to know what that is. That dark green drink that they cheers with before he goes to jail. Anyway, I love when he's like, now take me to jail. Okay. He says goodbye to everybody. Okay, now I'm going to jail. I love the wise guys in prison. Like, what the fuck? I would love to be a wise guy in prison. The food. I'm going to say this note now. I have this note later. The food in the entire fucking movie, it just makes my mouth water. Every single scene when they have food, no matter what the food is, no matter whether it's in the beginning where they're grilling, sausage and shit, or when they go to Polly's and all this Italian food comes out, or they're in the prison pan frying steak. I mean, it just looks great. Or at the end when Polly's cooking the sausages, every scene where they have food is just like, it looks so damn good. Like, it just looks so yummy. But them being in prison is like day camp. It's like fucking camp. Like, shit. Is that real? Just wow. Was that real? Is it now? No. Was it then? I wouldn't doubt it. And I just, wow. I love the Scorsese he puts that in the visiting room. That guy's getting a fucking blowjob. Like, Who thinks to put that in the movie? I love that he didn't. That's like, what? It just makes it feel more like, I kind of feel real, even though that seems so outlandish. It kind of makes it feel real in some weird way. I love Ray Liotta's performance in that scene when Karen's freaking out because she sees Janice Rossi's name in the register, like he came to visit, Janice came to visit him. And his performance there is great when he's trying to calm her down. Just keep bringing me this stuff. You know, we're going to make it. It's okay. I got to get out of here. My Pittsburgh guys owe me money. We're going to be fine. That his performance there is great. Again. So remember when I said earlier when Paulie asks Henry about Billy Batts and the intensity of that scene. Well, here again, when Henry gets out and Paulie is warning him, like no fucking joke, he is not kidding around. He warns him, don't fuck with drugs because I'm not about to go to prison. Again, it feels so out of character for Paulie to be this way, but on purpose. And it's so intense and scares me when fucking Henry lies to him. And you're like, oh shit, this is so gonna bite you in the ass. This is so gonna bite. It's just like, it churns my stomach because why are you lying to Paulie? Why are you lying to Paulie? That scene is great, Stax, man, Stax. Everybody loves Stax. I can't believe, you put Samuel L. Jackson in anything. This can't be the first thing he did. It can't be. But he's so young here and so, I remember him in who doesn't? Jurassic Park. But that was like 3 years after this. Jurassic Park, I think it was 93 and this is 90. I don't know what he did before this, but I can't pull out of my brain. Was Amos and Andrew before this? Maybe. I have that one. That one's fun. Anyway, to see Stax and I was like, holy shit, okay. Sandy's place is a fucking mess. I've lived in places. I'm not trying to say anything bad about my family, not at all. But I've lived in places that were that a fucking mess. That every time I see it, it's just like, oh, I get chills because I just don't ever want to be. And I've visited people whose places are like that, like, friends that their place, and I just can't. I can't. It gives me. I'm such a clean freak now. I'm such a, I'm not 100%. I'm not like a germophobic, but I am very clean and neat. My cleaning lady comes once a month and she says, you don't even really need that. So I'm very clean. Just to see her place like that, I'm like, what the fuck? And I have the same thought that he does. Just, there is so much fucking coke. There's so much contraband here. Just put it in the goddamn dishwasher. Just put it in the fucking dishwasher, please. Just rinse it. Just something, because it's caked on that. Oh my God. You know that is total foreshadow. It doesn't scream foreshadow, but you're like, okay, there's a reason why her place is a fucking mess. The Lufthansa heist. The meeting after the Lufthansa heist. Lufthansa? How do you pronounce that? Lufthansa. It's a hard word for me. I don't know why. Lufthansa. 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 Okay, Lufthansa. After the Lufthansa heist, that meeting that they have in the bar, it was Christmas or whatever. I love this scene. It is so great. And De Niro shines here. When one after another the guys come in, it's like, you bought a fucking pink Cadillac and you bought a mink, and he's like freaking out, and his performance in that, it's just like, yeah, he is insanely paranoid. Why? Because he doesn't want to get caught. Why? Because we're talking about $4 million. No, $6 million. I think he said $6 million. The newscaster says 3 or 4 million, but Henry, I think later on in the movie, says it was 6 million. I mean, it probably is a matter of record. You probably could find it out, but Henry says later in the movie that it's 6 million. So fucking stealing $6 million is a big deal. It's more than stealing $500,000 or 400 grand, which they did earlier in the film. You know, this is, that's nothing compared to $6 million. Of course Jimmy's going to be paranoid. And Jimmy's older now, and he has more to lose. He's not a young punk anymore. He's an older guy, and so he has more to lose. So his performance is brilliant, because it's exactly how I would feel. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to get us all busted because you're going to buy a Cadillac? I don't care whose name it is. You're driving a new Cadillac. You don't think that the police are going to look at you? You're a wise guy. You're a known wise guy, and you're driving a brand new Cadillac. Do you not think that the police are going to look at you? Your fucking wife is wearing a brand new, mink coat. Do you not think that the police are going to look? He acts the same way I feel like I would be like that same way. What the fuck are you doing? What? It's great. It's great. I have such a now I'm such an asshole that I keep scratching that question. Which character were you most able to identify with or connect with, and which way and why? Now that I think about it, it's not only the character that I would love to play, Jimmy Conway, but so many times in the film I feel like that. I feel well, I connect with certain parts of that's what makes this movie so great, is I can connect my emotions and my feelings with certain parts of the film. Anyway, I love another line that I love from this movie that always rings out. I got the most expensive tree they had. I know he comes in with that fake white tree, and I'm not a fan of fake trees. Some people are. That's it. That's fine. I grew up with real trees all the time. I can't say that Christmases were positive, but I don't have just positive feelings about Christmas growing up. But I do remember always having an actual, real, live tree, or a fresh cut tree for Christmas. Never a fake one. So seeing the fake tree, but it looks great. I mean, the white tree, I love purple and green are my two favorite colors. So seeing the purple balls on it was really neat. But that line always sticks out. Like, Jimmy just got through telling him, be careful with the money, don't be dumb like these assholes. And then he walks in the door, I got the most expensive tree they had. But, a fucking Christmas tree is different than a brand new car or $20,000 mink. Completely different. It's just, it strikes me as funny when that's literally the next line. I got the most expensive tree they had. When they shoot Stacks. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm sorry, this is going to be a long review. 2 more pages. When they shoot Stacks, I love that I was not expecting it. I love the look of it. Even though there's an anticipation. If you watch it more than one time, maybe the first couple of times you see it, you don't get the anticipation. But as many times as I've seen it, you see... you're shooting Samuel L. Jackson from behind, but you see him lift his head and point it this way for no reason. He's putting his shoes on, which means he should be looking down, but he's not looking down. He points his head towards the bed this way because his direction is to fall on the bed. That's his direction, I'm sure. Martin Scorsese says, we're going to shoot the blood at the bed, fall on the bed, forward on the bed. So you go where your head goes. They tell you that. You go where your head goes. They tell you that when you're riding a motorcycle. They tell you that in martial arts. You go where the body goes where the head goes. So if he's looking down at his shoe and gets shot, he's going to go down. So he has to point his head towards the bed, but it doesn't make any sense for what he's doing. It's just one of those things. It's hard to like get it 100% correct. Like I was saying in Inglourious Basterds with the shoe, she gets shot on one foot, but then the shoe that they bring is the other foot. Anyway, watch that review. You'll see what I mean. There are certain things. It's hard in filmmaking to get it to look 100% natural. Because of the situation, and this is one of them. He should have been looking down at his shoe, and if he were looking down at his shoe, putting his shoe on, he would have gone down, not onto the bed. So you see that anticipation of the shot coming, and so he lifts his head towards the bed, even though he's still putting on his shoe, and then he gets shot and falls towards the bed. Now, I'm not saying that scene is great. I love that scene. I made a note of it. I love that scene. It's beautifully done. But you can see that little bit of anticipation and unreality of him looking not where he should be looking. But what I love is the scene is done great. He does a great job. And I love that they go through that. Tommy walks out the door. But then they go back to that slow-mo of Tommy shooting him after he's fallen. And I don't know why that just, it's so well done. That slow-mo of him shooting, 2 or 3 times, it really emphasized the point. And that's the beginning of, like, taking out all the guys, taking out all the people who had anything to do with the robbery. Oh, they're going to make Tommy. I was like, I never believed that was copacetic. Even as a kid, when they're like, they're going to make Tommy, he was such a pain in the ass. Why would they make him? I always had a suspicion about that. I never 100% believed it. And I don't know if Scorsese wanted that to be the truth or if he wanted you to think that they were going to make him. But I always had my suspicions. Morris is he's such a fucking asshole. Morris, Chuck Lowe, does such a great job at being like this. He's not the Michael Madsen asshole. He's not that. He's just a pain in the ass. Okay, so he's not quite an asshole, but he's a pain in the ass, and he does such a great job at being just like a pain in the ass. Great job. I don't know him from anything else. I could probably look him up and see what else he's done and probably have seen other things that he's done. But off the top of my head, I don't know him from other things. But he's brilliant in this as just like a total pain in the ass. Oh, so here's an insider thing. Scorsese, in an interview, talked about how, I think his assistant director, or maybe it was just his assistant. I can't remember if it was just his assistant or if it was an assistant director. But he's watching this scene where Robert De Niro, Morris is just being an asshole, asking for his money. Henry kind of deals with him. And then Morris kind of chills out and is leaving. Jamie Conway, Robert De Niro, is smoking the cigarette at the bar and looks over at him. You know the scene, because they stick on it for a while. Scorsese tells this story about he's sitting there filming that. He sees De Niro's performance looking down at the bar, like just his look. And he leans over to the I think it was the assistant director, the AD. I think he leans over and he goes, write a note, Cream. And the assistant director's like, the AD's like, what? He tells him, just write Cream. Just make a note. Just Cream. We're film. Let's just do it. Just write. He's like, what are you talking about? Just write Cream. So he makes a note, Cream. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Fucking okay, whatever. And later on, he tells him, after they're done shooting, he tells him he just had a flash watching Robert De Niro in that scene, that performance. The song Sunshine of Your Love, he knew then exactly when Robert De Niro was acting that's the song for this point. The Sunshine of Your Love by Cream. And that's why he told him, write cream. Just write cream. I know what it'll mean. Just write cream. He knew in that moment when Robert De Niro was acting and Robert De Niro gave that face, that's the song we need for this. That's the song. That's the song. And it works perfectly. I mean, there's so many great song choices. And I think I love directors who can see and feel and just be like, that's it. You know, Quentin Tarantino's another one that just brilliantly picks wonderful songs for the situation, and I think Scorsese just had that instinct come over him. Cream, do it. Just that's it. Oh, okay. After they kill Murray, I mean, I could write notes about every scene, but I didn't. After they kill Murray, I love the handheld shaky cam when Belle comes to Henry's house, Henry and Karen, and saying, he hasn't come home. I know something's wrong. I know you know. Something's wrong. He's never, in 33 years of marriage, or how many ever years of marriage, she said that he's never come home and not called. Something is wrong. The shaky cam, the constant move back and forth and shakiness of it adds to the frustration, the craziness of the scene. It's so well done. And you see, you know, Henry's frustrated and Ray Liotta does a great job. He goes into the bathroom, slams the door. You see his frustration, even though he kind of knows what's going. I mean, he knows what it is. I just love that scene. I love the camera work in that scene. It's so well done. Speaking again of another brilliant music choice, I love the song that they use when they're finding the bodies. You know, the sequence, the montage of them finding the bodies after, you know, Jimmy's getting rid of everybody that he would have to have paid. I love that. That's great. Tommy, when Tommy gets it, man, I knew it. Like I said, I had that feeling when they said Tommy was being made. I was always like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. Why would they make him when he was such a pain in the ass? And then when they go to this house, I'm like, no, this isn't right. This isn't right. Why? And then when he walks into that empty room, I just knew it. Seconds before they shot him, I knew it. And then, of course, he knows it. Oh, no. And then they shoot him. You know, I knew it. I just knew it. And I don't know if I was supposed to know it, but I did. And Robert De Niro's reaction and frustration when he slams the phone, when he knocks the phone booth, all that is just, it's so well done. It's so great. I mean, De Niro's fantastic. I love that reaction when he, you know, tells Henry they whacked him. They whacked him, you know. Wow. Just wow. The final day sequence is amazing. This is the last sheet of notes. The final day, the whole sequence is brilliant. I love the camera work. I love that Henry looks like shit half the time. I mean, really looks bad. Ray Liotta gives a remarkable performance in the entire sequence. I'm sure they filmed it over multiple days, but this entire sequence is just wonderfully done. He looks like amazing. It just looks hectic. The camera work again is brilliant. The constant zooms back, zoom, movement. You know, the erratic camera work adds to the hectic, you know, craziness, the chaos of the scene, of the situation. The camera work does a really good job. The constant redos. Let's shoot that again. Let's show that again. You know, the double takes. It's just so. Joe Russo was right. Just watch this and you'll learn a lot about filmmaking. How to make the audience feel that way. How to make the audience, you know, feel tumultuous as well. There's another movie that, Stay. If you haven't seen the movie Stay with Ewan McGregor and Ryan Gosling and Naomi Watts, fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant movie. Brilliant movie. And there's a part in it that, more than this scene absolutely makes me feel that hectic, but there is a scene in that makes you feel the way the main character feels. The main character feels so like, what the fuck is going on? And the way the scene is shot, edited, duplicated, it's gorgeously starts making you as the audience go, whoa, what the fuck is going on? Just like the characters, like, what the fuck is going on? This as well, I mean, that was Stay. This Goodfellas also has that element in this last scene of just making you like, whoa, trying to keep up, and the hecticness and the movement of the camera and the craziness, and you're just like, what is going on? This is like he's on drugs and he's spacey, and you're like, shit's going down, and you don't, and something's gonna come to a head. You can feel it. You can feel it in the filmmaking. Brilliant. And then what does she do after all her yeah? She hangs up the phone and she makes the call from the house. Like, how fucking stupid do you have to be? Like, really? You know, it's amazing to me how stupid some people can be. And I gotta go home for my hat, my fucking lucky hat. What, you fucking kidding me? Do you get what we're doing here? Do you know what's about to happen? And you want to go home for your hat? Like, it also adds the absurdity of the stupidity adds to the realism. Like, of course this is real. Because who would write something that fucking stupid? No, people are really that dumb. It doesn't matter whether she went home for her hat or not. They were still going to get busted. It's just the whole idea. And then her fucking throwing the cocaine down the toilet. Oh my God. I watch her do that and just go, I'm not a drug dealer. I've never tried cocaine. I would never buy or sell cocaine. But I get what the stakes are. And I watch her do that and I go, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? And then to find out later it's $60,000 worth and you're like, well, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Okay, that was part of that note. Okay. Jimmy never asked me to whack somebody before. Okay. I love... If you're doing narration in a film and you pause the film, for the most part, you pause it, it's silent, except for the narration. You may have a soundtrack, maybe, depending on what's going, depending on the type of situation you're in. You may pause the freeze frame and have a soundtrack continue and the narration goes. That's fine. I can get that in like The Green Mile. He's telling a story. You're watching it. I can feel how they might do a freeze frame and then the music continues, the soundtrack continues, and he continues to narrate. I can also see it kind of I hate to bring up two Stephen Kings, but I also in Dolores Claiborne, I can kind of feel that too, where if they did a freeze frame, they would let the soundtrack continue as she narrates. Okay, I get it. It's fine. What I love about this scene, and you may not have noticed it, so you may want to go rewatch it and then feel how it feels. See how it feels when you watch it, when you realize that in this scene, when they're at breakfast, and Jimmy asks Henry to go whack somebody, and he says, I know I would never have come back alive. They freeze frame first on Jimmy, then they release, and it action, he asks for whatever, and then they freeze frame on Henry. Both times they freeze frame. Remember I said there is no soundtrack, so there is no soundtrack. Both times they freeze frame. You can hear the sounds of the restaurant continue. Even though they have freeze framed whoever you're watching, they have literally paused, the narration goes, Henry is narrating, you can hear the restaurant continue. Dishes clanking, people talking, people moving. You continue to hear the restaurant move. It's a freeze frame for Henry, not a freeze frame for us. And I love that idea. Love it. It's brilliant. I don't know if I've ever seen that ever done like that before. It's a freeze frame for Henry, the character, not a freeze frame for us, the audience. And I feel like that's why we continue to hear the restaurant even though the frame has frozen. I love it. It's great. Really well done. Smart. Really well done. Tonight. Okay, here I am. You know, sometimes when you put yourself in that headspace of, I'm going to talk about this movie, you put yourself in the headspace of, I'm going to review this movie, and people might listen, you start to look at things a little differently. And tonight, I was paying attention to little things. And one of the little things that popped up that I never ever noticed before, even though I've seen this hundreds of times, the courtroom at the end is full of smoke. And I'm not talking about people are smoking cigarettes. No one is smoking a cigarette. He has, as a director, Scorsese has misted the entire room so that there is a mist in the courtroom. And I'm not talking about a visual mist that you can see moving. It's just like overall, the entire courtroom is clouded with smoke. It has to be smoke. There's no other way to get that effect. And I'm like, whoa. Why? It was the first time I noticed it. It's an interesting choice. Is it because it's the past? It's such an interesting decision to smoke that room and then shoot it. Because that he had to have done that. He had to have smoked that. You can't get that effect without smoking the room first and then getting it. And nobody's smoking a cigarette. So it's not like a bunch of people in a bar smoking and you want the room smoky. No. This courtroom was smoky for a reason, and I don't know why. And I'm like, I never noticed it before that he smoked that room before he shot it. Whoa, okay, interesting. And then the absolute brilliant, this was this is definitely pre-Deadpool, This is one of the most brilliant, absolutely amazing, so well done fourth wall breaks I've ever seen. When he's narrating, Henry is narrating, they're showing other people in the courtroom, they cut in the middle of a line, or like in the middle of I would say paragraph, in the middle of a thought. It may not be in the middle of a line, it's in the middle of a thought, in the middle of a paragraph. They cut to Henry, and he has broken the fourth wall and is now talking to you. He gets out of the witness stand, walks through the court, and we follow in front of him. What? Wow! I fucking love that. I love the feel of it. We've gotten to the end of the story. We can now pay attention to Henry as Henry and not as a character. There's so much greatness in shooting it that way. There is so much importance in bringing the audience in. We're no longer, remember I talked about in the beginning of if you haven't watched my review of Philadelphia, I talk about in the beginning, they bring the audience in, the whole beginning sequence where the Streets of Philadelphia song is going and they're doing the credits, and we are seeing the people of Philadelphia react to you as the audience, so it brings you in. This brilliantly brings you in as an audience member. You are now involved, and it is brilliantly done, just like the beginning of Philadelphia. Brilliantly done, brings you in to, okay, here's the end of the story. Here's where we're at. Now now we've broken the feeling of this being a story you're watching and now you're involved. I love it. I love it. And then the last note I have is this interesting choice to have Tommy. Tommy's already dead. He died long time ago. Story-wise, long time ago, 20, 30 minutes ago, film-wise, Tommy's dead. I find it interesting that Scorsese decided to have Tommy at the very end. One of the very last scenes you see is Tommy in a scene we never saw, front forward, looking straight into the camera, shooting a gun. And I was like, whoa, that is such an interesting decision to have that shot, that quick little clip right there, as if maybe that's something that Henry's thinking about. Because Henry's not talking about Tommy, but he is talking about the life. And then you have this quick interjection of Tommy shooting. Like he shoots like 3 or 4 times, and then back to Henry, and then him going into his house as, in the witness protection program. I thought it was a very interesting choice. Not sure I would have done that. I'm not saying it was a bad choice. I'm not saying it was a good choice. I just find it interesting that you interject Tommy at that point. Anyway, sorry this was a long one, 135, 136. But Goodfellas, I could have talked all night about it, and I restrained myself and didn't. So I absolutely love Goodfellas. If you have not seen it, I honestly didn't ruin anything for you because it's a true story. Go watch it. It's fantastic. And like Joe Russo says, you can absolutely learn a lot about filmmaking by watching this movie. Scorsese is brilliant. The acting is amazing. Writing is brilliant. It's just fantastic. Goodfellas. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.